now, and I'll start recording.
Oh, should I share this real quick? I didn't even think about sharing it on my Facebook.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let me pull up my laptop. Give me 1 second. Check out that fan.
Yeah, look at that, man.
It's hot.
We get a tour of the house tour.
Tour of the condo, man. I ain't got a house yet. Trying to be like you, Adam.
Bro, this is like my seventh house, actually.
Well, exactly. When I grow up, I want to be like you.
Yeah, I'm old, bro. You gotta remember.
I gotta be like you, Adam. Goals. All right, let me see. I'm on Facebook trying to find it. You're an asshole. I see what you did there. 20-time Naga champ. Fuck you.
I was waiting till you seen it.
Oh, you're such a dick. It's funny though. All right, hold on. Where is this thing?
I didn't even remember. It's on open mat chat. I'm gonna share it right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't see the actual feed.
All right.
You're funny.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Open Mat Chat. This is episode 57. We're on with Mr. Robert Malof. He's somewhere here. Right now we're looking at his fan because he's trying to get on his laptop.
Found it. Give me 1 second, Adam. I'm going to share this real quick.
And he's going to share the live feed.
I'm trying to. Hold on. All right, share. There we go. Share now.
Did you get it though?
Yes. I'm sharing it on all platforms, man. The gym page, everything.
Oh Lord.
We're hitting all the stops. Okay. Sharing it on Limitless.
Did you guys train today?
We did. That's why the timing was kind of tight, but we made it work. We finished class right around 8:30-ish, so it worked out.
Okay, nice. How far do you live from your gym?
Man, I live like literally like a 1-minute drive. I mean, not even a quarter mile. I really lucked out with how close I live to my gym. It's awesome.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm less than half a mile down the street.
Now, did that happen by like coincidence or on purpose or what?
Yeah, actually, it was kind of just an accident. A building was available down the street from the house, so we ended up getting that. The Georgetown's small anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
And how long have you been in your building? Because your building is awesome.
That new building we've been there for a year now.
Wow. And
it has all the roll-up doors, so that's what's nice.
Man, time goes quick. Already a year. I'm trying. All right. This is a very tired end of the day, Robbie, but let's get this. All right, I'm here.
Would you start your day? How'd you start your day today? You trained?
Man, today, yeah. Actually, yesterday I did kind of like a 2-day training session. I popped into my my afternoon class. My really good instructor, brown belt, Zach Shelley, runs that, and rolled with a bunch of the guys. Today I did not do that, and then I taught my class in the evening and rolled with my guys. Today was more just running errands all over because I have that big Limitless Hummer now, so I was getting some stuff touched up on that for the wrap, and then got the underbody coated, to kind of keep surface rust off of it, so that thing lasts forever. But I love that thing. The advertisement on wheels is great.
Yeah, those of you that are just listening, if you could find Limitless on all social media.
Yep.
So go check it out. He's got is that an H2?
Yeah, it's a 2007 Hummer H2, and people hate on that thing. So, well, people love hate it because the fuel economy is terrible. People think you're like destroying the environment, but honestly, the car is great. It's a great utility vehicle. It works for many things. So
Yeah, and you got it completely wrapped. So I mean, it's good advertisement, especially living out there.
Yeah, I live about a mile, if that, from downtown, from like the actual city, and I live like a mile from the university as well. So I'm kind of like right in the hotbed of everything in this general area. So we get a lot of traffic, coming through from like I said, the university and college and downtown and business workers, everything.
So let's go ahead and introduce yourself and how long you've been training and where you started training at.
Sure. So I've been training in martial arts for about 15 years, going on my 15th year. I was kind of early, like a little bit introduced to it in like 2004, 2005, but I didn't formally like join an actual MMA gym until 2007. I wrestled 1 year when I was 13 in eighth grade. I was terrible, so like that didn't mean anything. I started like boxing at Rob Radford's gym, if you remember Rob, Boxing for Fitness, where actually Vision MMA is now part of that building, was where Rob had his little Boxing for Fitness gym, and I went there in 2006. So that was kind of like my beginning back then. Got exposed. I wrestled a little bit, did a little bit of boxing, and then transitioned to an MMA gym about 30 minutes from where I lived at the time, and I trained there for 6 years.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so when you first started training, did you know that you wanted to be an MMA fighter, or was your goal to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu, or make it to the UFC?
Early on, it was definitely more of like I want to do MMA. Like, so jiu-jitsu is more for MMA because I thought that was like the cool thing. So it was really more of like the cool factor that really sold me on training in the beginning. But I quickly realized that like it took so much focus and attention to be good at it. And because I had so much energy as a kid, I was just bouncing all off the walls, and I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed wrestling. I just wasn't good at it. So when I found something that I could do, like the punching, the kicking, the submission holds, like that to me was awesome. And my goal, yes, as like a teenager and kid, was to be a UFC fighter. Like that was the cool thing. And jiu-jitsu was more secondary.
Right. Like, you started training at a very young age. Did you start competing in jiu-jitsu tournaments before fighting MMA?
Yeah, I did my first actual jiu-jitsu tournament like 2 weeks after I turned 15. And it was actually at a Cincinnati like martial arts expo, which they don't do anymore. I don't know how many they had done, but it was at not US Bank Arena. It was at one of the other big arenas downtown. I can't think of the name. And there was a bunch of other fitness things going on and martial art things. And Dustin Ware was running his second ever at the time American Grappling Challenge, or Ohio Grappling Challenge before American. So I did Dustin Ware's second Ohio Grappling Challenge. Yeah.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was interesting.
And did you get like an itch for it to compete more and more? How many competitions have you had? Do you know?
Honestly, yeah, I mean, like if I had to guess, and I'm really not exaggerating, I know we tease about all the time, but I mean, I really have competed a lot throughout the years, and I think I've had probably at this point over 500 grappling matches for sure. For sure.
Right.
As a teenager, I was competing so much, early adult. I mean, all through my 20s. It's definitely slowed down a bit the last couple of years, but I was on fire for pretty much the last, 14, 15 years.
Right. Yeah. So when you turned 18, were you a blue belt still?
No, I was a purple belt. And it's weird. I'm like losing like the timeline on this a little bit. I think I got my purple belt right before I turned 18. I think I was like 17 and a half and like a month or two shy from my purple belt. So I was a purple belt at 18.
Okay. And then you were competing. Did you start doing IBJJF as a teen or once you were an adult?
No, I didn't even know about IBJJF until I had heard of it, but I didn't really know about it until I met Vitor and joined GF team when I was like 21. I had never done IBJJF until 21. That was my first one. The Chicago Open in 2013 was my first IBJJF.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I thought you'd been doing them. I mean, that's still a long time. How old are you now?
No. I'm 28 now.
28. Yeah. Any tournament that you've done that's like your favorite tournament that stands out, or a match, win or lose, that just stands out the most?
That's a good question. For jujitsu, I would say one of my, I think for me, I would say when I did the Washington D.C. Open in 2018, I was going through a lot of personal stuff. I was having a really I was having like a roughish year that year, but I still really wanted to compete. And that summer, I competed in like 4 or 5 IBJJFs, and I won like all of them except for one. I closed out with Dante, and I think on that one I had Majid Haig, and I had always had these matches at black belt, with the exception of like a few others where I would go against some pretty well known guys, and I would just barely come up short. That's always kind of been my MO. Is like, not that I choke because I'm not getting like submitted all the time, but I would just like lose on an advantage or lose on a point in the match that really mattered. So I knew Majid was in my division, and I thought, man, I can beat this guy. I know I can beat this guy. Like, I got to finally like overcome that hurdle. And so beating Majid, I think I'm saying his name right, Majid or whatever, the Gorilla Hands or whatever. Beating him at that time was really cool for me. So I beat him, and I was just really happy because he went for his baseball bat choke. It was in the gi. I remember within the first like 2 minutes of the match, he pulled guard. I don't know. We got in some sort of scramble. I got back to her feet. I pulled guard. He dove into my guard, started going for the baseball bat choke. It was really tight, and I flipped him over and like swept him, and I ended up beating him on points. But I just remember it was like a very gratifying moment for me because, again, to me, he was a bigger name. And everybody knew who he was at the tournament. I was like, oh my God, the Gorilla Hands, because the guy was good. He beat a lot of people. He choked out Clark Gracie. I don't know if he beat Keenan, but I know he had a really competitive match with Keenan, and he beat Vitor, my professor, before. I beat Josh Hinger. I mean, he was a tough guy. So that one stood out to me.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. I forgot about that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I would say that's a good accomplishment, like personally, and like it kind of shows where you're at, beating a tough guy like that. That's pretty cool, man. Hey, when did you start? What gym did you start at?
The name of it or what? Where?
Oh no, I mean, was there a prom there?
Oh, at the first gym?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my first gym was like an interesting background, kind of interesting history. I started there when I was like, I just had turned 15, and it was a love-hate relationship. Ultimately, what I took away from my first gym was they did make me very tough. I got very tough mentally, physically, and I did learn a lot. I learned a lot from a lot of different people, but the issue that I ultimately had with this gym is how I was treated from day one. I was I was verbally and physically abused, and definitely in today's standards, that would never be acceptable in any gym, period. I understand what people say, the old school mentality and what that means. You got to be tough. You got to fight harder. You can't be a pussy. Don't be a bitch. I hope, cursing isn't offending anyone, but I mean, that is how the old school gyms were. Right. And I don't know about you, Adam, or where you trained, or, your background entirely, but that was kind of like the mentality. If you want to be a fighter, you got to be tough. You got to spar harder, do an extra round. I don't care if you're exhausted or if you're rocked. So these guys, at an early age targeted me. I don't know exactly why. Was I hyper? Yes. Was I probably annoying? Yes. But was I deserving of being called really bad names by men that were 25, 30 years old? No, I was a teenager. I mean, that's unacceptable. The things that were said to me, some of these things, again, in today's standards, people would probably end up, being sued over, potentially, I don't even know, maybe go to jail for. I mean, just a lot of really dark and kind of grimacing things happen behind the scenes. And ultimately, as I became a young adult, instead of me just always being a punching bag, when I finally transitioned to being like 17, 18, I started seeing more like, okay, these guys are all very broken human beings for whatever reason. and they all have these completely inflated egos of themselves, which everyone has an ego, including myself. But these are men that I looked up to that were literally treating me like I was just like garbage. And really, what was I doing to them? I don't know. And so when I turned into like a young adult, 18, 19, I just started retaliating more. I started talking back more. I started not taking shit. And ultimately, we were just not a good fit, this gym. This gym and I, we weren't a good fit. And there was a situation where the owner of the gym kind of gave me an ultimatum to either kind of continue working at my job I had, because he said it was a conflict of interest that I worked at Title Boxing Club, or continue to teach at his gym. And I said, well, hey, I was like a 21-year-old kid. I was like, I need the money. I live next to the gym. You're 30 minutes away from me. I'm going to kind of keep teaching, at the Title Boxing Club. And when I came back in for practice, like the following Saturday for like a pro sparring, I remember the general manager of the gym was like, hey, pack your bag up. You already made your decision. The boss decided that you're out. And I was kind of like, well, I thought there was going to be a compromise, maybe to pay a gym membership. And like that way things would be cool. I could just keep training. And he's like, nope. Your decision's been made. You're out. So I grabbed my bag and like I tried to talk to the owner, and he kind of just was like, hey, your decision's made. I remember he shook my hand. He's like, good luck. He kind of made a scene in front of everybody. That was always his style, to make a scene. That was always his style, to make a scene. So everybody was kind of on the mat watching, and he was just like, good luck, Robbie. Good luck. And I was like, all right, packed my bag up and left. And then I'm sure, little did all of them know that this is where my life would end up. So,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's hard to take back. Like, there's a lot of things I like, man, what if I changed this in my life? And then what if I didn't end up where I'm at now? So I did the same thing. I, not at gyms and stuff, but just, I grew up pretty rough and stuff. And, most people wouldn't imagine me being a gym owner, even a family man like I am now. But sometimes I look at it like, man, everything that happened, man, I'm kind of glad that happened the way it did in my life, so I could end up like this. Because look at you, you opened up. So first, after that, you left. You went to another gym. You had to find a new professor. You needed someone to stay under, right?
Yeah. So Luke Zacharidge was always a really good friend of mine. He was one of the really good guys from that gym that I was at, who treated me like his little brother, and kind of like Luke in a way kind of shielded me a little bit from like being bullied. Because he would take me to the practices and stuff. Because I was going to pro practice with all the pros, with all the old school guys. I mean, that at the time there was guys like Matt Brown in our training room, tons of UFC and Strikeforce veterans. I mean, Rich Franklin was in our training room. I mean, Matt Brown and Rich Franklin were probably the two like most notable guys, but they were, Rich was already a superstar, Matt wasn't, but we had so many good guys. And so I was sparring with these guys all the time, and not all of them were dicks, but man, they would tease me, they would haze me, they would spar with me like I was a grown man. And of course, as a teenager and my mom being a single mom, I don't want my mom to know that, the place that she thinks she's taking me, that's just a safe place, because I like the training, is really, these guys are beating me up, like really trying to fuck me up. So anyway, I got off track there. To go back to it, Luke and I kept in touch throughout the years, and he told me he was opening up Ronin. And he goes like, look, man, I know you're floating around, which I was, checking out different gyms, went to Gracie, Cincinnati, really loved those guys, but just wasn't the right fit. Went to Vision, liked those guys too, but wasn't the right fit. And I went and checked out Ronin, met Vitor, talked to Vitor, and Vitor was very new at the time in the area, did a couple classes. And I remember just talking with Luke, and I said, hey, you've been good to me. I trust you. Vitor seems like a good guy. And we shook hands. I said, I want to be a part of the team. And that was really it.
Was Dante Leon there at the time?
No, Dante was still under Salo. I think he was training in like Toledo area, I believe. So he wasn't on our team yet. Dante didn't join GF team, I think, officially until like 2015.
Okay. So you go to Ronin. How far is that from where you were living at?
Ronin was about right under 2 hours.
Okay.
Hour and 45.
So how often were you having to go up there?
Man, I drove up to Ronan probably the first like 2, 3 years I was under, GF team and Vitor, probably anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week, pretty consistently, with very few breaks. And I was still in, the university at the time. I was still at school. I was still personal training on the side. So I was really just, young and full of, energy, just nonstop.
What at what time and like what belt were you when you decided that you think you're going to go ahead and make the jump and open up your own business? Start your own gym.
So I talked to Vitor, and I kind of told Vitor, the situation, like I didn't want to join another school. Obviously, I was with GF team. There was no GF team in Cincinnati. And, he kind of gave me his blessing. So I was a purple belt, but I had been a purple belt for about 4 years and 4.5 years. And the day I officially opened my school, I got my brown belt.
And what year was that? How old were you?
I was 22, and that was in 2014.
So it's a pretty big jump being 22 years old and opening up your own gym. A lot of stress, a lot of pressure on you. How'd you handle all that?
I think there's a level of being naive when you're young. That's good and bad. And I think for me, I just had such a big chip on my shoulder, honestly, Adam. And that was the thing I think that got me through a lot of stuff was a combination of like knowing that people didn't want to see me succeed. And I know that's cliche, but I really felt it. And it was from my original gym, really. And, that and just knowing that there was a large challenge ahead of me, they got me excited. So I was motivated by the challenge. I was motivated by the unknown. I've always been like that. And, I was also motivated by kind of seeing a little bit of my dad's lifestyle because he had passed away, about a year prior to me opening my school. So I was motivated to like do better than him and live like a better lifestyle. And it was just a great opportunity. So I was stressed, but I think, again, chip on the shoulder, driven, wanting to make people, want to prove people wrong. I think that just got me through, the early years, just being very driven.
Right. And like the goals for your gym, you want it more total opposite of what you grew up in, right?
Absolutely. Like yeah. When I opened up yeah, go ahead.
All that stuff, all that negative stuff, like helped you build something greater.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason why I named the school Limitless was because I literally felt the exact opposite at my first school. I felt limited. I felt like, and truthfully, it's, I don't blame anybody really but myself because I could have left the environment even as a teenager if I really wanted. I just love the art so much that's why I stayed in there. I think that's why people stay in abusive relationships, seriously, because they love something about the dynamic, but right. They don't love the person or whatever. And that's what it was. I loved martial arts. I didn't love the people. And I was also, 15, 16. So how am I gonna get around? But I felt limited literally in my school because nobody, I feel like, truly supported me with the exception of a few people. And I feel like I could have reached a potential that, I haven't reached yet at a much younger age, maybe be a world champion already in jiu-jitsu or further along in MMA if people actually wanted to see me do well and wanted to help me progress more. Right. So Limitless to me was this idea that like, we're never going to put a title on you. We're never going to call you names. We're never going to make you feel like you're not good enough or you can't excel or reach your goal. We're always going to give you that positive reinforcement and help you break any limitation you might have. Whereas in my other gym, it was just constant criticism, name calling. You suck. You're a pussy. I mean, every name calling word that could be said was said. You know what I mean? It was always beating people down. And it was that very old school mentality that I just knew, me personally, I would never do to people.
Right. Yeah, I know how those old school MMA gyms are. I've been around for quite a while and it could get crazy. So that's cool though. Like when you opened up your gym, I've been to your gym. What do we?
I don't know. Have you been to the? I don't know if you've been to my like newer one.
Yeah, I think so. All the brick downstairs.
Oh wait, no, you have been there. The Matt Hamill.
Yeah.
Matt Hamill seminar.
Yeah, me and Alex went up there for that. But yeah, that's another. You have a really nice gym and stuff. And like, when you first started, was that your goal? Was your goal to like have like a beautiful facility for everyone to train at, give good training, make it like more of a family?
Yeah, that was totally the vibe. I picked bright colors too because I wanted that good energy, and I had competed at this point in a lot of IBJJFs, and so I picked like the blue and yellow because it reminded me of the colors for the World Championships, which I thought was
Right.
really cool. And I love California. I know you love the out west too. You
Yeah.
lived out there, so for me, I like want to bring a piece of that back home to Cincinnati and absolutely create that family environment.
Yeah, and it's pretty true. Like the drive you had and your accomplishments that you had, coming up into opening up the gym and stuff. It's true. You hear a lot of these world champs and these guys, people ask them all the time, why don't you have a gym? Why don't you do that? And they can't. They're like, no, I have to train. I have to train on, which it's good and bad because, most likely they're not going to be rich and famous from it, but they'll have a nice shiny medal, and truth is these guys could start their own gyms and be making probably millions off a gym at their level, of what they've accomplished and their fan base. And you chose to open a gym and realize like, oh, at first it's tough, right?
Yeah, I'm happy what you just said because that brings up a good topic. Is like, so I knew in the beginning. Well, again, level of being naive. I thought in the very beginning when I opened my school, I was like, well, I'll open this school and I'll build my own group of guys. I'll have 100 students in the first year. I'll fight MMA and jiu-jitsu at the same time. I'll do both. And I remember Vitor once was like, "Hey man, you can't do both. Pick one." I'm like, "No, I can do both." And he's like, "No, no, no. You got to pick one." So I thought I could literally do it all. And ultimately, there was a point that when I realized, I said, look, to myself, I said, if I'm not going to be training full time like at Vitor school or a gym like that, it's probably gonna be really hard for me to become a world champion. It's probably gonna be really hard for me to reach, the top of the sport. The compromise is I'll be building financial stability, which was something I never really had, especially not for myself. And I also didn't have, a GF team in town where I could easily, go train. So I was like, I have to build this for myself. And I know it's going to be difficult. And as I got older, I just kept saying, I'll probably become a world champion later on in my life, which I believe. I believe I will become a world champion in jiu-jitsu. It might be masters. It might be, at the end of my adult, time in jiu-jitsu. It might be gi. It might be no gi. It might be Pan Ams. Whatever it is, I know I'll reach that goal. And I knew at a certain point that because I chose to run this school, that my professional career would suffer. And
Right.
I didn't realize to the extent. But running a school is hard, and trying to be a competitor, and you're older than me and you have a family. I don't even have a family.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you took a couple of years ago, you went on like a crazy spurt where you were competing all the time. I'm sure that was difficult just to do
Yes.
that with your kids, with your
Yeah.
wife, with your academy, with your students. I mean, it's hard to try to do it all. And I've done a good job of it. But yeah, of course, professionally as an athlete, I haven't reached the top and I want
Right.
to.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's very hard to get selfish when when you have to love and take care of so many other things, including your gym and with me, my family and stuff. But yeah, like we were actually before this, we were getting ready for Detroit. We were gonna do gi and no gi. Me and Sandro and Ethan and I think two others. So I was really pumped, man. I was really getting ready for this. And then sure enough, all this hit. COVID hit, man. And it stopped us in our tracks. And, you know, then when they officially said we all have to close our gyms, and your thought goes like, man, after a month of closing the gyms, you start thinking like, man, are people going to come back? Like, are they so scared? Who's going to want to do jujitsu? Did you have any thoughts like that? Did you get worried at all?
Yeah, I mean, well, for sure. Well, let me put it this way: yes and no. Yes, because I was more worried about what was going to happen in the world as a whole. I wasn't as worried about my business, and maybe this sounds like crazy. Is I mentally was prepared for something like this to happen. I knew that we were on the verge of some sort of, economic collapse or disaster or whatever, because, things can only go up for so long. So also by how I was raised, I was always raised to be like very conservative with like finances and stuff like that, believe it or not. And so
Jewish?
I know, I knew you said Jewish mother, man. No, but I was prepared for something to happen. So financially, I prepared myself, and I just knew if something came, I wouldn't be surprised. So, of course, I was devastated to close the doors for 3 months, but I was like, no, this is why you work hard. This is why you save. This is why you plan. This is why you are responsible, whereas some others aren't. You're going to be okay. And so we were okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, life was going on and stuff, but I was still worried. I was like, man, I mean, we were prepared to move our gym to my buddy's farm where we could all still train if
Shit.
it became illegal. We had this game plan, like, okay, like we'll be at the farm training, whoever wants to come. But
well, yeah, to be fair, like I'm sure a lot of people still trained on the low. I mean,
ever.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people like got it in still some way somehow. So there was no law that said the owner of their gym could not go in and work out in their own gym. So I worked out during COVID.
Yeah, I think the majority of people, trained and stuff and stayed safe, of course. But yeah, once the restrictions lifted and everything, like, man, I had more signups. I had people coming wanting to sign up. It was kind of weird because during the closure, I had like people calling and asking if they could sign up. I'm like, man, we can't open. Maybe June or July. Come back then. And sure enough, these people showed up. You guys open yet? So it's kind of good.
No, that's awesome.
It's kind of a good thing, but yeah.
People are itching, man. People want to get back in the gym, so this is the right time to get back into it.
You just had your sixth year party for the gym?
Yeah, six-year anniversary was officially on June 16th, and yeah, we made it, man. 6 years, and it's been it's been quite a journey with the COVID and everything else in the world, and obviously just growing and learning as a business owner and growing up. Like literally grew up with my business. I mean, 22 years old. I'm sure you look back at 22. I didn't know shit. Yeah. So I've really grown up a lot with my business, and just really blessed and fortunate to have all the people involved, because it's not just me. I have staff. I have like 13 people that revolve and teach and work, and the students, of course, too, and my family and my friends. I mean, everybody involved, everybody who's a part of even the jiu-jitsu community around here, like including you, like we all help grow jiu-jitsu. So
yeah, it's true, man. It is a different culture that I really like when gyms are mainly jiu-jitsu gyms and they have a few MMA fighters, rather than a full gym, just MMA fighters, and they do some jiu-jitsu there. The environment's a lot different,
Oh yeah.
I like jiu-jitsu tournaments, MMA fights, if I know someone fighting, they're fun, but other than that, but I could go if there was a local jiu-jitsu tournament, I didn't even know anybody on there, I would go watch,
Oh, cool.
And you meet people, like jiu-jitsu people are friendly.
Yeah. I mean, jiu-jitsu people and MMA people, as you know, are weirdos. Like, not all of them, but they're different kind of weirdos. You know what I mean? MMA people can be really strange, and jiu-jitsu people can also be strange, but it's like more humbling strange with jiu-jitsu sometimes. So, you've been around the sport for so long. I've been around the sport for so long. I mean, I've seen just about everything, heard just about everything, and like you're just it's an interesting group of individuals. We'll put it that way, which I love. I love these people. They're different. They're weird. They're like me and like you, and so I connect with these people.
Yeah, you guys celebrated the 6 years at the gym, and then did you have a separate party at a club or a bar with a DJ?
So our friend owns a big warehouse in Cincinnati that's a dog walking business called Blue Dog K9. And it's like an 8,000, 10,000 square foot warehouse near where they're building the new FC soccer stadium downtown. And yeah, he has a huge warehouse. And so, yeah, we had a DJ, like open bar style, your homegirl, Danny Harris. She was our bartender.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, we had like cornhole music, just good vibes, man, just to celebrate and like, try to give back to the guys and girls any way I can, just to say like, hey, let's have a drink, let's celebrate, and keep the morale high.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty dope. I saw some videos or pictures on Instagram.
We like that. We like to have fun.
On your social media. Yeah, dude, you've had a few videos I would say go viral, huh?
Yeah.
You're good at promoting yourself in your gym, man. I respect that. I think that's good. Like, people have to understand, like, you have to keep social media going. Like, that's our biggest seller, for me, for advertisement right now. It's all my social media stuff. Like, that's how people know anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge, especially because, we're not huge corporate entities where, we have a marketing firm like doing all our stuff. And I'm not paying somebody like, because Gary Vaynerchuk or one of these jackasses on YouTube's like, where social media is going, where the marketing's going, you gotta pay me, have some young guy, send you, I don't know how many emails you get a month, but I can probably get at least crazy. 2 or 3 a week of someone like, hey, I'll run your social media marketing for $3,000 or $2,000 a month. And I'm like, dude, if you knew something I didn't know by now, like, everybody would be rich. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, they're always trying to sell you some kind of program, marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what you think about with like martial art gyms and marketing, but I really think that the secret sauce, or whatever you want to call it, is just like slow progression, like building slowly. I don't think there is a way to get from like A to freaking Z to the end. Okay. Right. Like cutting through everything else in the alphabet. I think it really is just like slow and steady, establishing a good foundation and just building slowly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, people usually join the gym because they like the environment and they like the teaching. Unless they're brand new, they don't know that, but they like the environment, But guys that trained at other gyms that usually join the gym come because of the training stuff. But I've never had anyone join the gym because I've had MMA fighters that are, champs, that are local champs, or they saw someone, kick ass at a jiu-jitsu tournament. I've never had anyone sign up for those reasons, per se, but usually word of mouth, and usually a nice, good environment. Everyone always comes, oh, what a good environment, Even when we went up to your gym, everybody, fist bumps, says what's up, good attitudes.
Oos, bro. Oos.
That's your buddy Josh Chambers.
Hey, carajo, mal.
Oh my god! But yeah, dude. What's your favorite video that went viral? Because you have you versus the karate black belt.
There's like there's like 3 of them. So okay, my original favorite one was when I did the wrestling tournament the second time, and I beat that Division 3, not Division 1, but I did beat a Division 3 All-American wrestler from Mount St. Joe University. That was a fact. And I just beat him on like a single leg, and it was honestly sloppy. I was just like, had a lot of I don't know, tenacity or whatever. And I've also grappled for 15 years. So it's like, come on, guys. Like, I'm obviously haven't wrestled my whole life, but I know how to grapple. So anyway, I love that video because, the comments were hilarious. And, I'm sitting back and just eating them up. Initially, I got into it and was like, all right, I'm going to fight back with people. But I was like, nah. But the one that really trips me out, and I don't understand it, I really don't, is the BJJ black belt versus Japanese Jiu-Jitsu black belt one from Naga, right? So the backstory on this was a little over a year ago. I do Naga. It was like I wanted to win Naga 20 times, and I was like, there's no point to do this anymore because it's Naga. No offense, it was fun to do, but the level of competition, as you know, is not super high for the black belts. So that was my 19th win, and this guy and his dad showed up. They were wearing like I don't know, Jeet Kune Do, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, Judo gis, whatever they were. They were both wearing black belts though in the black belt division. So they were thinking about not competing. And this is a true story. There's only like 4 black belts. There was Jason Compton, who was a real black belt from Northern Kentucky martial arts or whatever, and then these 2 other guys and me. So I walk over to Joe Cuff, the coordinator of Naga, and I say, hey, look, man, there's these 2 other black belts here, and they look like they're unsure of competing. So I kind of pressured Joe into talking to them, and then I talked to them, and I was like, hey, you should do these matches. They're like, oh, yeah, maybe. And they were really respectful, but they were just a little fishy, right? And so I 100% told my student, Riley, and if he was here, he would vouch this. I said, I'm going to make a video of this, and it's going to go viral. I knew for a fact, and I was totally trying to take advantage of the situation. I'm not even lying. I knew that there was an opportunity to do this. So I do the match with the kid, and he was strong as shit. I'll say that. He was bigger than me, and he's probably 220, and he was very strong. And he just, he obviously had trained in like a gi, so you knew how to hold on to stuff. And his gi was short. His pants were, knees coming through, whatever.
Yeah.
And the only error that I truly made in that match, and the comments were hilarious, between you're the most disrespectful, like POS, like you're a disgrace to martial arts, to you're not a real black belt, whatever, was when I sat back for one of the initial arm bars, I got lazy and he like turned into me. And that was like 2 minutes in, but then I immediately sat up, kicked him away, like bashed heads and spun to his back and then just ragdolled him. But outside of that, I dominated the guy. And just because I didn't like try to break his arm in like the first 30 seconds, I was like shocked by the comments. So here's the thing. So to kind of recap this video that I'm like confused by is the disrespect is that a guy shows up to a jiu-jitsu tournament. I don't care if you call it grappling tournament. Okay. It's a jiu-jitsu tournament,
right?
Wearing a black belt, enters a black belt division. And first of all, and outweighed me and kind of tried to back out of it and did a tournament with me. I have every right to post that. Is it respectful for me to put a black belt on in judo and say, oh, I know how to wrestle, so I'm going to do a judo tournament now, and I'm going to enter the black belt division? Like, I would be offended by that if I was the judo guy. So for me, it was disrespectful, and then it was also an opportunity to not only like exploit this guy, but to also put it on YouTube and play with it, have fun with it, because that's where we're at. So to me, it was more like, hey, dude, don't show up to a BJJ tournament in a black belt, okay? And that's it. So we shook hands, everything was cool, and then I exposed the guy. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody has problems with videos like that. They're just hating on you.
The comments were like pretty. I mean, they're pretty negative, but honestly, like the guys like you and the people who kind of like get it, that are actually involved in martial arts, I think they get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Were these comments on YouTube? Or
oh yeah, if you get bored, you should not only should you look at how many thumbs
I'm
down there are, bro. There's almost 50-50 thumbs up, thumbs down.
Oh my god, yeah, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the comments. I watched the video plenty of times, but
the comments are just, like I said, they're as far as like, you're the most disrespectful fake black belt. What took you so long? You suck. You're not good. Who gave you your black belt? To, again, like, so disrespectful. How dare you exploit him? Like, why would you even make fun of him? It makes you look worse. I mean, just all the things going on and on and on. And I tried to give my explanation in one comment, and I just gave up.
Yeah, the funny thing is with guys like that, that you went against, he probably brags about that match.
I mean, he might, but the thing is like, I don't think he did anything. Like, here's the thing too. Anybody, and you know this just as well as I do, we're not invincible. Because I'm a black belt and you're a black belt, doesn't mean that I can just kill anyone by like poking them. Doesn't mean I can just instantly submit anybody. This delusional mindset that people have, that are like, you're a black belt, so you should be able to tap out anybody in 10 seconds. Dude, there are white belts, not that I won't submit. There are white belts that are so squirrely that it takes you like 3 minutes to get them to settle down, hold them in place, stop them from hitting you, kicking you, biting you, elbowing you, to be able to actually submit them in a controlled environment. You know what I mean? It's like, people don't realize that aren't truly educated in the art, that if you know a little bit of jiu-jitsu or just survival instincts, you're tough. And that's not a secret. That doesn't take away from jiu-jitsu. It's just the reality that, like, especially in a gi where you can hold someone and throw them and you're big, like, I'll beat you eventually, but maybe not in 10 seconds.
Yeah, people are silly, man.
And leg locks don't work.
Yeah, and you know what are you supposed to do? Go easy on that guy, let him beat you. You know, what do they want? What's the right answer?
I mean, again, the guy wasn't terrible, but he was not a black belt, and that he had no right to be wearing that black belt in a jiu-jitsu tournament. Period. So
you posted about some super fights that you're gonna host at your gym. Just a little fun stuff, just to get people active again.
Literally, that's it. I have no like desire at this time to try to make it like big. I literally just want to give people the opportunity to compete for free, for fun, no pressure. I mean, COVID has messed everything up, of course. You know, unless you're the creme de la creme, you're not competing in jiu-jitsu or MMA right now.
Right.
So this first one, I'm just gonna do 6 matches, keep it super low key. It'll be on Saturday, July 18th, only on pay-per-view. No, it'll be July 18th, and then we'll figure out the details of like the time and the rule set. But it'll probably just be normal point matches, time limits, of course. And there's not going to be any black belts and stuff. It'll probably be, blues, purples, maybe a brown belt. Right. And if it goes well, we'll do it every month.
Yeah, something like that. That'd be cool. Yeah, that's a good idea. Get people active again, wanting to compete. I know everybody wants to compete. Just finding the tournaments and stuff. So
it's like, again, the dynamic of jiu-jitsu is changing so much, and people that were like thinking about competing before COVID probably right now really want to do it. So if there's any way that like I can help propel that and get them closer to competing, and I just enjoy, just like you enjoy watching tournaments, I would enjoy just hosting a tournament. So
yeah, it sounds like a good time. Yeah, I saw you post that, and I was like, oh yeah, I think people will like that.
If you know anybody too, we said anybody watching too in the jiu-jitsu community, we're gonna do, like I said, our first event July 18th. I don't even want to call it an event because I don't want people to be like bother me about like how much you gonna pay and are there gonna be pictures and stuff. It's like, dude, old school. Show up. You want to compete? Here's the guy. Here's the girl. Whatever. Yeah. Shake hands. That's it. Go home when you're done. I want to be out of there in an hour. No, but seriously, if anybody wants to compete and they're interested, hit me up. It's going to be a fun, chill environment. And yeah, we'll take it from there.
Yeah, that's there's something going on that day. Is that the UFC fights? Who's fighting that night?
Man, I feel like every Saturday is like a UFC fight now.
I know. I just knew that one. I think that one someone was having a party or something. But yeah, what time are you thinking about doing it? Early?
Yeah, I'll probably do it in like the early afternoon. Well, I should say like not early afternoon, maybe like 2 or 3 o'clock. Yeah, nothing crazy.
Yeah, maybe I'll see who wants to do it. I know I got a lot of people that want to compete, so.
Yeah, man, I definitely have plenty of blue belts. I have a couple purple belts that might do it. Probably no brown belts really. I have one white belt girl I mentioned that I'm looking for. She's like 145, 150 pounds. And outside of that, yeah, there's like one match from another school I've already put together between Legacy and Vision, which will be a good match. So it should be fun. And like I said, we'll see how it goes, and hopefully I can do it more frequently.
Yeah. Yeah, something to get people's attention. It's good.
So one of the things I know we talked a little bit about before I came on is like I wanted to not go into too much great of detail, but talk a little bit more about kind of signs and things you should look for in academies as you train, and what I consider like an abusive academy or an academy you kind of should steer clear of. And is that something you want to chat about a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. Like I've had people call me, and ask me, people I don't even know ask me questions about other gyms, like, do you think this is right, or I don't think this is right, and it's kind of weird because like why are they calling me? Why are they asking me? But I guess they just see that I run a gym everybody always can tell, like, man, you guys have like a pretty close, close gym family. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I just don't want to. I never want to have a douchey gym. I want to have a really tight family. Everyone knows everyone. You know, but yeah, I didn't. I never really got to experience stuff like you like. Uh, I guess you would say verbally abused too. Which could be wrong for someone your age, like especially a 15-year-old. And that is bullying. Bullying's not cool, to an extent. And I understand like trying to toughen up somebody, and showing them the ropes and stuff, but it can't always just be a big negative. And what you're saying sounds pretty negative. And I don't know, when I see these young guys, man, I want to be, I'm datum, you know what I mean? Like I'm on the mats, I'm taking care of them, in every way, but I'm also trying to give them life advice, and I think I have to set, being a gym owner, I have to set an example, and be that guy that's, the positive role model rather than a douchebag thinking like, oh, it's fun to pick on somebody. But yeah, go ahead. Let's give some advice to somebody out there looking for a gym or somebody that's not feeling too comfortable. What's some advice that you'd give them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, some of the biggest things you need to look for, you want a good training environment, which you can tell pretty quickly. I think most people are intuitive enough after they're there for, a few classes or like a month that they sign up. If one, their instructor knows what they're doing, that's important. Make sure you're not at a big dojo, essentially where there's fake black belts like that guy in that video. But no, also, I think just being able to see what the members say, that's a huge part of it. Talk to the members, are the members engaging with you? Are people friendly from the start? Because you could, as the owner or the front desk person, be fake and, cut through and be like, how are you? And our gym's so great. But I mean, you can't control the whole environment of the gym. So if there is weird things going on, somebody might in class be gossiping about somebody and you could pick that up pretty quick. So I think, trying out classes, talking to the students, getting a feel, trying other gyms too. You got to compare and contrast, because if you are going to do martial arts for real, it's a long journey, and it's a serious relationship you should build with somebody, because it shouldn't be something you do for a month and quit, or join a gym and then plan to join another gym like 6 months down the road. So picking the right environment for you, it's a huge decision. You should figure out where you want to commit, and look at everything, look how clean it is. Look at the reviews. I mean, now social media is so powerful. You can look at reviews easily online. And I think the big one, though, like I said in the beginning, is talking to the actual the students themselves. You can't brainwash all of them. If someone wants to say how they feel, they're going to say how they feel.
Yeah, it's true, man. And it sucks. I hope there's not people out there going through stuff like that you had to go through. I'm hoping times have changed.
Yeah, I think it has, and I actually want to share a couple of them, because I really want people to not to feel bad for me, but I really don't think this is happening a lot, but I want people to know that I'm not just like whining or complaining or just trying to make stuff up. I want to give a couple examples of some pretty dark things that happen, and if it's ever happened to anybody watching or potentially watching, then you should totally leave your gym. Okay, so I mentioned a little bit about being verbally abused. Okay. You're like, but what's that mean? And some physical abuse, what's that mean? You could say, well, they rolled hard with you. Well, let's talk about rolling. There were multiple times I would tap to submissions and guys would hold them longer. Okay, this is as a minor. Great example. The day that I got my purple belt, I believe, still 17. And might I add, they were still whipping people with belts, which that doesn't happen anymore. Okay, you want to whip somebody with a belt now?
No, we do it. We do it,
yeah.
Bro. But it's volunteer. Yeah. It's volunteer.
Yeah, volunteer, right? And like maybe for the close knit, but the majority of people don't do the big gauntlets anymore. Okay. Everybody that showed up that day for my purple belt promotion wet their belt, and whipped me as hard as it could. Okay. So you could say that's just being a man, that's being cool, whatever. After I got promoted, I'm all like, shook, shaking. I'm excited. Well, my coach at the time, or professor, the owner of the school, is like, okay, you're going to roll with all these guys. So I start rolling with this guy, this guy, this guy. One guy's a UFC vet. One guy's another guy, whatever. And then the last guy I roll with is another purple belt who's like 230 pounds. And I take it down right away, but he always beat me technically. And he gets on my back and he gets me in like a bow and arrow choke. So I'm in the bow and arrow and I'm like, fuck, and I'm fighting super hard. I'm about to tap. And I hear the head guy, the owner of the school, say, "Don't tap." And then I hear him say to the guy, "Put him out." Okay. I'm a minor, and he choked me unconscious unwillingly at that time. Now, of course, I just accepted it. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to sleep. I wake up. I'm totally shaking. I'm like freaked out. Never been choked unconscious. I remember coming back to it. And one of the moments that I thought this would be the proudest moment of my young life, I just got my purple belt, is also now the most bizarre, weird moment ever. Because if you've ever been choked unconscious, you're like, you think you're in an alternate universe for a second. You're like trying to figure out where you are. So I quickly grab my bag and scurry out and drive home. And I'm just like, what just happened? So one part of me, I'm like ecstatic. And the other part of me, I'm like, was that okay? Like, should that happen? So that's one instance. Another instance was when I was younger, like a blue belt. I was just training after class, probably with one of the guys, like one other guy, just doing kickboxing drills. And one of the guys like, hey Robbie, come outside the ring real quick. And I'm like, okay. And I'm naive, so I'm listening to this guy, start talking to him. And one of the guys comes up behind me, grabs me by my arms, full Nelson. The other guy pulls my legs out from under me, takes me in the cage, holds me down. A third guy comes in and starts pink belting me. And again, it was like hazing, and maybe it was cute or whatever, but it was to the point where I was like, get the fuck off me, get off me. Like, it wasn't funny. Right. And these guys kept hitting me. They're like, stop being such a bitch. Stop, just calling me names and hitting me. And I remember the girl at the front desk at the time finally like intervened, and she was like, get off of him. What's wrong with you guys? Like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Because like somebody realized like, okay, it was funny for maybe like a second, but like you're literally like beating up this kid. So we'll push that to the side even. So now let's talk about another example. When MySpace was a thing, one of the guys decided to take a picture of me from my MySpace account, and I was 16. Share it and make like a meme of it, and took my picture, put above it like, thinks he's a fighter, what a douchebag or something. All right, no big deal. Comments start coming in, everyone starts making fun of me. Of course, I'm like, oh, ha ha ha, you guys are cool. And again, I still admired these guys, which is how sick it was. One of the guys, as they start teaming up on me and kept making fun of me, wrote in and said, you should probably just kill yourself. And that was public. And I remember that moment, not because I was like broken, but I remember thinking like, is this normal? Like, is it normal to tell a 16-year-old boy on a social media platform to kill himself? And that's just fact. None of that is made up. That's just fact. That's not okay. And I know this individual was in his late 20s. I know he has kids now. He's a black belt now. And I know he still actively trains. And I even competed against him years later. And I beat him. And it was awesome. It was the best feeling ever. And I remember he tried to talk to me after and kind of came up to me and said something like, hey, man, I heard through the grapevine you've been really talking shit and calling me a piece of shit to people. And I looked at him dead in the face and said, well, because you are a piece of shit. And he kind of was like, whoa. I was like, you think it was okay to tell a minor to kill himself? I said, under any circumstances, regardless of how annoying I was or how much I got on your nerves or whatever, I was a 16-year-old boy. I said, what if I would have killed myself? You have children, right? And I remember it was this weird moment where he froze and he was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, all right.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy, dude. Yeah, I mean, you've told me, that you've had some hazing and stuff before, but I didn't know it was that deep, man. That's nuts.
Yeah.
And definitely, I hope that something like that would not happen at any gym. And people are just sick in the head sometimes, dude.
Yeah, and again,
cool
that was a different time. What'd you say?
Pretty cool that you confronted him years later,
Oh man, I'll be honest too. It was the best feeling ever because I wasn't actually officially a part of GF team yet. There was a time between like 2011 and 12 where I was floating for 6 months, where I just entered like a OGC, AGC just to do one, see like how good I was going to do. And I remember, I mean, the owner of the organization was a part of their association, and we went in and I was like, there was like 10 purple belts, and like, all right, anybody, I weighed exactly 170. Anybody 170 and above is open class. We're just making it on the spot. Anybody under 170, their own class. And I was like, oh, so I'm under 170. You know, they're like, no. He's like, you go with all the big guys, which was where their guys were. And the first round, I go against him. He weighs like 220. And I just remember being like, okay. And ever since that point, I've competed against maybe 5 or 6 of their guys. And I beat them every time. It's not even to be like cocky or cool. It's the facts. I beat them every time, and it feels amazing.
Right.
100% feels amazing.
Bro, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and telling a little bit about yourself, man. And the awareness is good. I'm hopefully this does help somebody, but hopefully nobody's going through anything like this anymore. That is a big difference I've noticed too throughout, the last 20 years in and out of gyms and on mats, is the mentality has changed a lot. Even you see, like, we won't even talk. Well, this could be another topic, another day, but like these big UFC fighters that don't even spar anymore. They're not even out there trying to, before they were trying to kill each other every day. And I knew that, I've been in gyms like that, I've been in the same room with Vanderlei Silva sparring somebody. Like, it's an intense room. But I appreciate you telling us your story, man, and I'm looking forward to your little, your matches that you're gonna have, and hopefully we'll get to see each other and hang out soon, man, and cross train. Where can people find you? What's your social media plugs?
Yeah, for sure. If you're interested in, you're in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, check us out. Our gym, it's Limitless BJJ. Super easy to find on everything: Instagram, Facebook, limitlessbjj.com. Personal stuff, Hebrew Heartthrob for Instagram. And that nickname was given to me in college. And people ask, they're like, how did you get the nickname? Well, I'm Jewish, and, you can figure out the rest. But that's it, man. We're all over, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and back to what Adam said real quick. If you're watching this and you are in an environment where you feel unsafe, or you don't feel like you're cared for, or people are treating you anywhere near the way I was treated, choking you unconscious, or keeping you in the spar and trying to knock you out, that's not normal. Okay, that's not acceptable. That's not normal. And if you're in that environment, you should leave and not feel ashamed of it. So.
Exactly, guys. That's the truth right there. All right, dude. I appreciate you. I'm logging off. If you want to hang on, we'll chat for a second.
Yeah.
All right. Later, Facebook.